The information expressed in the following podcast is intended for educational purposes only and was created by and belongs solely to Believe Limited and the Flow podcast and does not necessarily reflect the views of our sponsors. Please speak to your healthcare provider before making any medical decisions.
Here we go.
Sarah, what gets you up in the morning? What makes you ready to see the day? Do you have a
It used to be working and moving my body and coffee. Coffee gets me up. But now it's a tiny person. A tiny person comes in and says, "Mom, it's 7:00." And then snuggles in our bed with the whole gang is then in the bed. So then it's me, partner, dog, tiny person for a little bit. So I wake up to tiny person. But I also love being a mom, right? That's amazing. What a lovely way to wake up instead of an alarm. But I love talking about sexual health too.
Yeah. What a dog pile. I'm just imagining it. I have a question though. Why she says 7:00?
Oh yeah.
That's how she says the time?
Yep, because she's not allowed. She's not allowed to come out until at least 7:00.
Oh, because she's up earlier. If she keep president's hours, she's up at 4 a.m. Is that the situation?
I hope not.
Just doing her yoga, getting ready.
I hope she's not.
Oh, it's 7:00. I can go check mom now.
Yeah, she's not playing hoops at 5 o'clock like I think President Obama did. But but she has a okay to wake clock, so it lights up and then also tells her the time. So, but we don't do before 7:00 unless it's a bathroom emergency.
No, that's good logic to live by, I'd say. I mean, yeah, that dog pile wake up sounds fantastic. Sounds lovely. Since 2020, you know what gets me up in the morning? Talking about periods. Even when nothing else makes sense in the world, I am ready to talk about extreme menstruation. So welcome to Flow. I'm here once again with Sarah Watson, sex therapist. Pew pew, or it's the lube super soaker.
Yeah, my lube gun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about what's been in our DMs, mostly from each other. But in acknowledging that we are a year since Roe versus Wade was overturned, in acknowledging that intel is power and these devices do help us get a lot of intel, we're going to go into all of it. But first, we want to know, how's your flow? Music.
Perfect.
Wow. Good stuff. And then we're back. And once again, we always normalize the reality of menstruation without normalizing the extreme pain. Sarah, how is your hormonal flow today?
Yeah. So, technically I think I'm in my luteal phase and feeling a little I don't know, that I worked out really hard last night. So I think it's more of a workout thing, but feeling some cramping because my air quote period, time is coming, even though I don't bleed because of my IUD, but feeling really energetic and lots of things on my to-do list and excited about those things.
Luteal, yes.
Yeah, luteal.
Yes.
The creative vibe.
And we were talking how you don't need, before we started recording, about how you don't need to bleed, but you still feel that luteal phase, which is why we on Flow like to discuss what that flow is, even if you're not bleeding. I just remembered, I relearned, we can learn things, we have to understand them, that luteal and follicular are different, right? There's different properties to those phases. It's an ovulation happens in the middle of them, but the build up to ovulation and the wind down, I guess. What I call that after?
I think it depends on you, right? On the individual, in the month, and your level of stress.
Your stress.
I mean,
oh my God.
And every external factor.
Yeah, such as political events or learning what's happening in Florida, all of which we're going to get to right after this quick break.
This ad is brought to you by Von Vendi, Von Willebrand Factor Recombinant.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I didn't always feel empowered to speak up for myself or ask for the care and support I needed. Becoming part of a community and hearing other people's experiences helped to change my perspective. That's why my deciding factor is making my voice heard. To hear my story and access other helpful resources, drop by Von Vendi, that's VONVENDI.com/patient-stories.
I could ask you about your flow.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll do that as we come back. I was like, I totally.
Perfect.
So, yes, I meant to say I've been relearning that difference, luteal and follicular, because I'm like, I think I ovulated like just now. Like just now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait.
There it goes.
Okay. No, I mean, I don't know
There
why
it
you
goes.
take, if you're checking your ovulation, you take your temperature in the morning after you've been sleeping.
Mhm.
But it's not as if
Yep.
it's like
Your basal.
your basal,
Mhm.
but it's not as if the night before.
Mhm.
You don't always ovulate at night. So you're not like checking to see if it
Correct.
just happened. It could be happening at any moment,
Sure.
right?
I wonder if that's more about, I mean, I'm sure a lovely Google search can tell us, but I think that it might have to do with maybe heart rate and temperature while we are unconscious and sleeping, is my guess. Because if you're supposed to take it, like literally the moment you wake
Before
up,
you
you're then
move.
supposed to take your temp. Yeah. Like do it. You're supposed to keep it on a nightstand and then take it. So that's my guess. It has something to do with like heart rate and movement and stillness.
Stillness.
I mean, I could be so wrong.
No, I think that's
But
why it's measuring
my guess.
that, but and why we're checking. I'm not an expert. We'll get experts on the FAM method around, but you're checking
Yes.
when the temperature drops and then increases again. But there's like a specific drop to know you've ovulated. Anyway, I don't actually know
Yeah.
if I've ovulated, but I do know that I'm in that place between follicular and luteal. That's where I am. That's my flow. And they are different. They are so different. I used to think luteal was the most like dancefiable, but that's actually follicular, right? Like
I think so.
building up.
Yeah, like you're growing something, right? Like they think about like your body is getting ready to let go of and that you can be more creative.
Mm.
And then you let it go and then ooh, how do you feel? But again, like we can look at this, but it also really just depends on how you are feeling, what's going on in your personal life, your level of stress and external factors, what's going on with the world. Everything impacts how you're going to feel.
Well, right. So menstruation doesn't happen in a vacuum. We're not just only existing and menstruating in order to observe it and say, oh, this is a little unusual. Oh, this is something I should deal with. We're menstruating amidst living lives in patriarchal America, which is hopefully changing slowly but surely. But we do know we're a year since Roe vs. Wade was overturned. And we, in our DMs, shared a wonderful post from Tia. Tia is a great clinic. Get your OBGYN, acupuncture, and whole health at Tia Clinic. They don't sponsor us. I just go there. It's great. And they posted this. And Sarah, what do you think from that meme or from your experience, the biggest difference is now than a year ago?
Well, there's so many things I think that have changed and shifted, right? I think so the lack of access is overwhelming. The abortion deserts are now very large for some areas of the country. The lack of access to care is overwhelming, especially for those that do not have the means to then travel out of state. And that gets me going and really upset and frustrated and angry. And thank you for, causing that, our lovely Supreme Court. But then it also activated me to then also, I have a standing donation to Planned Parenthood, monthly donation. It's getting out and talking to people about voting and getting everyone to the polls. And it's just, the next presidential election is just as important as everything that has been happening in the last few years. So, I think it's activation, but it's also terrifying at the same time.
Terror is activating for sure. And as we see in this TIA report, there has been an increase in the access to abortion care via telehealth, which is something that was activated in response to the restrictions. Now, it's not great to be restricted, but at least there's this response. What else has been activated? People donating in more mutual aid programs to help get people out of the state they're in, to help them find.
Correct.
But that does require coming forward to communicate about your abortion, which can be dangerous to do in today's world. As much as we want to shout and be proud of the reality that abortion needs to happen, there's still a stigma.
Right. The stigma, the vulnerability. How do you, there's so much there. I think also, let's make note that abortion is still, you can get the abortion pill by mail. in all 50 states,
Great.
which is amazing.
Mhm.
And the other stat, and I think you and I didn't even talk about this, but they're looking into making birth control available over the counter.
Oh, great. Oh, good. Medical science. Great.
Yeah, finally.
How are we on that
So you
male
can-
birth control pill?
Yeah. Bom, bom, bom. Make some sad music.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
How hard can it be?
Well, right? Like, I mean, and I think we've talked about this too. Like, we've seen, and I know that Duluth has done this at events for them, where that you can have men or people, people who do not menstruate feel what it's like to cramp
Mm-hmm.
during menstruation, and it goes from 0 to 10. And those with polycystic ovarian syndrome generally say that it's a 10,
Mm-hmm.
right? So to watch people who do not menstruate see what it's like to menstruate and what the pain is like, right? If all people who do not menstruate sat through that, maybe we'd have some help and assistance there with the male birth control so that we could all not have to live in this pain.
Well, so you're saying the
Just
pain
saying.
coming from certain birth control methods, because
Mhm.
also the pain comes from certain
Mhm.
inherent, extreme conditions that
Right.
everyone should know what that pain feels like so that there's an equal understanding. But truly
Right.
shifting the way, society thinks about procreating isn't an overnight job, but that would be what shifts us focusing medical science towards a male birth control pill. Like, why, even if
Yes.
they don't understand the pain, don't they understand how babies are made and how it takes two, and the woman's responsibility to handle the birth also means she gets to handle the choice to abort or carry to term.
Mm-hmm.
It just all seems
Correct.
to logically make sense. Like, where are my Vulcans at?
Yes.
Mm.
But, that's just our way of thinking, the logical way.
Well, right. And I do love this little portal. We talk about how Dr. Google isn't always right, but online we can find a lot of intel. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of our other DMs, we had this wonderful reminder that the period is a report card. What a cool, logical way to think about whether or not you're having an extreme menstrual flow. The time of bleeding is a time to take stock of how things are going. What is the blood like? How much is there? Is it clot-y? How many days is it taking up? And of course, how much pain is it causing you? Now, you can ask those questions even if you're not having a menstrual flow, right? You can
Absolutely.
take the time each month in your cycle to check in with how you're, coping with your menstruation, coping with other people, coping with stress.
Yep, you've got it. All of those things impact, right? So especially our level of stress. Like we need to look at our day-to-day stress, what's happening if you're working, what's going on in your own home, the people that you spend the most time with, right? If your level of stress is or has been increasing or decreasing, that absolutely is going to impact your physical self. So making sure that you really understand what's going on and not being like, oh yeah, like I always have those moments later. I don't always practice what I preach, right? But like in the moment later of, oh, XYZ happened that week. And I was really having a physical response to that. So, and stress stays in our body. Like if we do not move it out of our body, it's going to impact our body, which then, your menstruation, your cycle is going to be impacted for sure.
Yes. Yes. So the stress may be showing up with a heavier flow. If we're limiting our nutrition, if we're not getting enough water and magnesium and iron, then we might have a heavier flow. So managing all those things just as a status quo is so essential.
Absolutely. Right. Or I think it also impacts like when your flow arrives, right? Like if you're a few days late and you are very, very stressed, or maybe even you skip a whole cycle because your level of stress is so high because your body is just like cannot handle and adding something else to your plate. So the body is smart, like
Yeah,
it can be a pain, but it's smart.
They say it keeps the score.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Keeps the score.
It does.
No, it's interesting because stress does live in the body. We can hold on to that like a score, but you know what can release that, as I've learned? The cervix.
Tell us.
So
Oh.
the cervix has a certain amount of DMT, and there's not a ton of studies, but people have begun to explore clinical evidence that DMT gets released. And
Right.
we do know what happens during birth for the birthed life and for
Mm-hmm.
the birthing person as well. So it could make sense that certain healthy sexual activity would help release stress because the cervix releases DMT. It gets released when we sleep as well. Some people smoke it for a trippy experience. That whole jam.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely right. You need to think. So we've talked about before whether it's solo time or partner time that it can alleviate your cramping, which I love. That's
Mhm.
amazing. If that's in your wheelhouse, if it's not, that's okay. But also like if you are having penetrative experiences with a partner and it feels differently, it's because your cervix moves around.
Yeah, what? Not in the old
It's
way. Like, it
crazy.
is so nuts that the cervix, not in the old way where they thought the whole uterus moved around the body. That was hysteria, they thought, was the uterus was moving. We don't mean like that, but like I'm making a shape for listeners on the YouTube show. You can see the shape. It's like a V, right? And the cervix is this little rounded V situation.
Yeah.
And the very tip of it changes throughout our cycle.
Mm-hmm.
The placement of it within our vaginal canal can change throughout the cycle. And so what do you hear from clients? How does that impact their sex life? It just feels different. Even the same actions feel different, kind of thing.
Yeah, like you could be maybe like let's say at one point, okay, I'm going to just use a 4-week, who generally cycles tend to be that long, right? Maybe in week 1 you have penetrative sex and it feels one way in this one position that you highly enjoy, but maybe week 3 or week 4 it feels different. And sometimes I've had people that are receiving a penis report that the penis owner then says, "Ooh, like that felt different," and they can feel. It's so crazy.
That's why, the penis head could feel the cervix if it's lower in the vaginal canal,
Correct.
right? Two little,
Correct.
the cervix
Yep.
and the penis head might touch if it's so low, or might
They're like, "Hello."
Yes, and that's how the DMT
Yeah.
gets released. A little pressure and a little movement,
Mhm.
emphasizes that. So in this wonderful meme, which we'll have a link to, it shows
Yes.
you one version. I mean, this person's body, every body is different. But does it seem like it comes down lower after ovulation?
so.
Is that the jam?
I think so. I'd have to double check. I think it's just so cool. Like, let's look at it. Like, just the fact that let's embrace the fact that it changes and moves throughout, and that penetrative sex is going to feel different if that is what you're into. And that's totally normal. And we love it.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pausing really quick because Amy just asked if I was recording. I am. Okay. Sounds like, here's a little update from the studio. We could just wrap this up in 5 minutes. It would be the shortest episode in the world.
Yes.
So let's see. A slight intermission. I'm gonna friggin' read this caption.
Okay, do it.
Menstruation days 1 through 6, your cervix is lower in your vaginal canal and firm, much like the tip of your nose. Okay, and the opening allows blood to release. So it's like a little open. The follicular phase, that's what's next. Days 1 through 13, after menstruation, your cervix remains firm. The OS, what's that? The opening. The opening becomes narrower. You may notice little to no discharge. This will change to thicker, creamier, whitish, not stretchy when you get closer to ovulation. Ovulation, 1 or 2 days before this, the cervix produces clear, slippery, wet, stretchy. It's like egg white. That's what they say, right? Egg white, egg yolk, egg white mucus. That's peak fertile time. And the cervix is higher and softer. Interesting. And then luteal, the second half of the cycle, immediately after ovulation, the opening closes, but the cervix remains soft. Okay. As the mucus becomes scantier, a little drier, we're getting ready to start menstruation again. So that's
right.
It's like
it's up and down.
Up and down.
It's like a little jellyfish. You're looking like a little jellyfish.
Abso-friggin-lutely.
With your hands.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We have so much to learn from the jellyfish. Like, how do they sting?
They're smart. Wait, they don't have a brain.
They don't have a brain?
It's wild.
Really?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. At least according to my daughter's book.
Okay, I trust your
Inside
daughter's
Animals.
book. Okay. Yes. I mean, I do. That is fascinating.
Isn't it crazy?
They don't have a brain. They are supposed to be like some weird consciousness. Like they don't work like any other species.
No, they're amazing.
So we're going to pause.
Kind of like our uterus and our cervix in the female body.
Right? Like misunderstood collective consciousness creatures. We all need to unite and figure out how to sting at the same time. I remember thinking about the pelvic floor when we had our amazing PT therapist on and thinking about that like a jellyfish.
Yes.
Like, because your lips and stuff are kind of soft. It's like the cervix is the hard part. The rest of the vulva can be kind of soft. So we're like a jellyfish and our pelvic floor is like those long legs kind of tightening. That's what I try to picture. Those long jelly legs tightening.
No, I like it.
Thanks.
I'm really liking the jellyfish when we think about ourselves too. We are magical as our jellyfish.
Sarah Watson.
I think that's it.
Sarah Watson. Keep sending me DMs. I'm so glad we talk every month. It really does help to communicate about flow. In fact, we'd like to communicate with you. We hope you get into our DMs. We have our Calendly link to set up a time to talk. Even if you don't want to be on the show, set up a time to talk. We'd love to hear from you, especially if you're in Florida. What else?
Good luck, Florida.
Good luck, Florida.
We still love you, Florida, but we feel for your political downfall.
We do. Hamburger Mary's California, LA chain just helped Florida out with the drag ban. Just gotta love that solidarity. That's what we want to talk to you about too. And we always want to know, please, how's your flow? Flow is produced by Bloodstream Media and edited by Kay Vermeil. Shout out to Flow's creative director Amy Board and hosts Jessica Richmond and Sarah Watson. New episodes are available the second Thursday of each month.
Hey, that's the day after I start menstruating.